Let's get on with our story. Page 191, chapter 22. Things look grim. Thursday, September 7th. I woke to loud snores and a burning need to use the chamber pot. And I'm wondering how many of you know what a chamber pot is? I'll let you think about it, and we have a context clue. He woke up needing to use it. Yes, that's right. A chamber pot is like a toilet. It is a pot, a vessel that you would keep in your bedroom, and you would go sit on it and do your business. And then at some point in the day, before it was filled to overflowing, you would take it out, and there would be a place that you would dump it. They usually called those a cesspit, a pit that you would dump that in, and therefore you wouldn't be living in all that stink. You'd take it out and do something with it. Some people would just throw it out on the streets, which is kind of nasty. But you have to remember, at this point in time, they had most of the vehicles that they had were pulled by horses or donkeys, usually horses, and horses just do what they need to do right out on the street too. So, kind of a dirty time to live in from what we're used to. Okay, so jumping right back into our story. I woke to loud snores and a burning need to use the chamber pot. My lips under the rag were cracked and dried. My jaw ached. I was hungry, but queasy at the same time. I was used to being up early to work, but I doubted that Fish-Eye Bill and Kate ever rolled out of bed before mid-morning. I tried feebly to get their attention, banging my heels against the floor. My yells came out like low growls. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Fish-Eye Bill grunted, half asleep. "What?" It opened. Even if I hadn't seen him with my own eyes, I would have smelled him. Nasty Ned. "Got some coal to sell you and the missus, Bill," he began. All at once, he spotted me lying tied up under the bed, his eyes closed to slits. He cleared his throat. "Threepence today." Fish-Eye Bill hauled himself out of bed and put some coins in Ned's hand. Then he grabbed Ned's wrist so hard the mudlark cried out. "Yow! What do you want to do that for?" "I see you've noticed that young Eel is here for a visit," Fish-Eye Bill said, as smoothly as he could. "And I thank you for telling me that my dear stepson was still in town. But I don't want a word of this to anyone. Hear me?" Ned gulped and stared right at me with large, frightened eyes. "I didn't think he was going to torture you, Eel. I didn't think that." "Don't talk to him," Fish-Eye Bill yelled, raising his hand towards Ned. Ned flinched, but didn't take a step back. "You're not going to kill him, are you, Fish-Eye?" "No, I ain't. But I'll tell you what's to happen. You done me a good deed, and I did one for you. I bought your coal for an extra good price," Fish-Eye Bill declared, "but that's the end of it. Like I said, you better keep your mouth shut about this. This is my private matter. A private family matter." Fish-Eye drew out the word family and smirked as he said it. Ned moved his bare feet nervously on the floor, his toes almost black with mud. I ain't seen nothing, Fish-Eye. I'll be off now. Good day to you." Ned closed the door, then clattered down the stairs and was gone. Nasty Ned. I should have known. It had been Ned who'd let on to Fish-Eye Bill that I wasn't dead. It was probably good that I was tied up, because otherwise I might have rushed at Ned and done something my mother wouldn't have approved of at all. When Ned had gone, Fish-Eye allowed me to use the chamber pot and gave me a sip of water. "Now, Kate and me, we got a little business to do that can't be put off," he told me. "A little breakfast and a little business. Then, when I get back, you and me are going to go visit Henry. You got that, boy?" I clammed up. I wasn't about to answer him, but when they'd left me alone in the hot, close room, I began to think. Things looked grim on all accounts. First, there was Florrie. I couldn't bear her thinking I'd forgotten her. Then, Dilly. She was probably already lost. Despite what Mr. Griggs had said about her sense of direction, I didn't expect that she'd be able to find her way to Dr. Snow's house. Finally, there was Dr. Snow. Tonight was the committee meeting. If I didn't get there in time, he wouldn't have the information about the unexpected case of Mrs. Susanna Ely, which proved that the water from the Broad Street pump had caused the cholera outbreak. Without that proof, the chances that the committee would agree to remove the pump handle weren't so good. Sticky Pete. And that, I knew, meant more people would die. I suddenly remembered Dr. Snow's face on that first day at the pump. I'd wanted him to rush up and save Bernie, but he couldn't. I realize that now. What Dr. Snow wanted was to unlock the mystery of the Blue Death, not just for the victims of this outbreak, but for everyone in the future. Taking the handle off the Broad Street pump would just be the beginning. The start of a time when innocent people like Bernie and his parents wouldn't have to die from a disease they didn't understand, so that bright girls like Florrie wouldn't have to suffer. What was my life, or Henry's life, against all those future lives that could be saved? Should I trade my freedom for Henry's? My head hurt just thinking about it. I didn't know the right thing to do. All I knew was that Henry was my little brother. I'd promised Mum to protect him. That was my job in life, more or less. How could I betray him? No matter how I looked at it, everything seemed lost. Pretty hard situation to be in if you're Eel. Time is a strange thing. On the river, I could tell what time it was from the tide and the light. Sometimes I could hear the great bells of St. Paul's Cathedral chime the hours. I'd heard church bells here, but what with my head hurting and me dozing off now and again, I couldn't be sure what time it was. I began to wonder if Fish-Eye Bill and Kate would ever get back. But then came the moment when I heard another new sound. I was curled on my side on the filthy floor. I ached all over. I raised my head a little, leastwise as much as I could, still being under the bed. Clump, 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 clump. Someone was coming up the wooden stairs. Fish-Eye must be back. My heart sank. I still didn't have a plan. I tensed, listening. The steps halted in front of the door. The silence lengthened. It was almost as if the person on the other side was listening. Suddenly, the door flew open, slamming against the wall. Thumbless Jake filled the doorway like a giant creature come out of the river. Jake! I croaked, though of course it didn't sound like that with the rag in my mouth. He looked down at me and shook his great head. Always in trouble. Thumbless Jake came closer. Then I noticed. In his good hand he had a small shiny knife. I gulped. Was he going to do me in? Then Jake flashed a queer sort of smile. Now, what did I tell you, lad? We're all river finders, he said, bending down to cut the rope that bound me. And today it looks like you're the bit of something shiny that it's my lot to find. And with that, with Eel's rescue, we're ending chapter 22. Tomorrow, chapter 23, The Decision.